Ta-da! What is happening out there, my friends in YouTube land? Yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, Jim Dawson, what's happening? John Dawson, what's happening, brother? Really appreciate it, man. Doing I had set up a another patch on the ME90, more geared to the metal, and involving more of a higher gain amp with a well, even when I use the high gain setting, if I turn off the overdrive, you still get a little. You clean it out a little bit. And I got it where I also set up, like, have a phase shifter on there with a chorus. That's what I do like about this pedal. Where the EQ section is, you also have effects, and I have a phase shifter called for it, and on the modulation, I have a chorus, so you can combine two different modulating effects. So it's actually a pretty cool pedal, man. It's a great idea that they got that, and you could toggle hands free between manual mode, which is what I've got it right now, to turn off the overdrive and still get a little bit of the crunch from the amp. So now when I get back here, and if I go to a memory mode, it's just going to go between the different patches. So yeah, it's really, really cool. Really, really cool. And then, with the bank up and down, I can still go back to my normal patches I use when I'm doing the fusion music. I gotta turn that down a little bit. Where I use most of the Les Pauls of the PRS SC model. If I have too much delay there, go into manual mode, shut my delay up. So what I'm going to do right now, I got it again. Well, why not? We'll bring out the PRS. The guitar is great. I'm really glad we got it. And, the thing is, when I hear people talk about tone woods, this, that, and the other, it does make a difference. The wood does play a part into it. Of course, the pickups do outshine a lot of it because depending on your pickups now. But, my question for people that want to 100% disregard wood, the body of the guitar, what wood it's made out of, then how come people had the idea to, install the pickups directly to the body of the guitar versus the ring casing? Now, on the PRS and on the Les Pauls, you'll see the pickups are hooked up, they're actually screwed onto the plastic ring casing, So there's definitely something with that. And the bolt-on versus the set neck. Set necks and necks will have a certain amount of sustain that these don't. Yeah, you could jack it up with the pickups and that, but there is still a certain amount of a sustain that you cannot duplicate with bolt-on. I'm not saying you won't get a good sustained sound. There's a certain tone you don't get. And me go ahead and let me grab this. Do you think like, geez, Dave, don't you leave the guitars out? We'll leave the guitars out. Like our Rogue guitar, the Rocketeer. That was a gift from our good friend Surf Prophet 9. Great guy, great guitar player. Really appreciate that. And let's go ahead and just get this plugged in. And now with this guitar, there's definitely a different tone. Okay, more like in the Santana style, you know. So definitely different tone there. Oh yeah, I forgot. And right there, when I shut off the overdrive, and actually I have this set where if I'm in memory mode, I hit my CTL switch and it'll take off the overdrive, but still keep the crunch. It's a little variation of an Al Di Meola piece entitled Flight Over Rio. It's kind of a tricky piece, but I think let's see, hold on one second. Yeah, let me do this. I can leave that. Sorry about that. The pattern is off of a flat minor. At least that's how I've got it. I want to show you close how I'm doing the fingering. It might not be exact, but it is a really good exercise for anybody out there that want to get good finger independence, where maybe these three are kind of on the weak side because everybody's been doing pentatonics. Nothing wrong with pentatonics. That's a bad habit right there, man. If you have access and if you have the ability to move your fingers, go ahead and do it. Okay, but this little pattern, I'm gonna try to play it slowly and watch the fingering I'm doing. Right there, I'm using my pinky, middle, as opposed to jumping, to try to get this independence. See, the thing is, when I do, and especially when I get very heavily involved in rehearsing for a classical guitar piece, there's finger exercises I'll do because a lot of the classical guitar world, you're going to be, especially if you're playing Baroque music and anything that's Bach related, you're going to be doing a lot of weird fingerings that you're not doing that's blues based. So it's kind of a good exercise to work on. So, but what I wanted to do is get into my phase shifter. Now, what I use with this, get the alternate picking in sync with the fretted hand. Okay, but let me go and try this other patch I. I used to be able to do that a lot quicker, the tapping and that. But I haven't really used it too much because the style of music I'm playing now is centered around more of the fusion music. So let's go ahead and begin our discussion, my friends. And as usual, I leave up the live stream for those who want to view it later, who cannot view it now. And so let's see if I get me and technology. Really, the topic is what I meant to put in the title. There was the technology to catch 22, which that it really is, guys and gals out there. And what I mean by that is it has its great moments and it has its not so great moments. The great moments is the convenience that it has allowed us as musicians, and the not so great it has was the destruction of music. Well, I shouldn't say the destruction of music, but the alteration of music. And some of you who have been playing for a long time, and who have been, whether you've been playing a long time or you are a product of the 80s or 70s, 80s, 90s, product of when we would buy music. That's basically what I want to lead into. And do you remember you go to the record store and you either buy the cassette, 8-track. Old man Dan, what is happening? It's so good to see and hear from you, man. I hope, I haven't been on everybody's channels for like a while. I apologize. Just been a little bit busy. And but a good busy. So I hope you're still posting videos, because I'll tell you what, Dan, I really do enjoy your playing, man. It's authentic. You don't have to be a supersonic shredder to be a virtuoso. Virtuoso is being good at what you do and making music and make it sound like music, because that's what it is, music. I've got, when we're younger, we always like to just try to be the fastest we possibly could be. And that was a goal when I was younger. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if we have, we've had some storms, so I hope this live stream doesn't get all pixelated and all that other crap, So I apologize if it does. I'll have to rewatch the rerun. You don't have to, it just, what I was just saying, about the supersonic shredding. Because I'm an instrumentalist, when I do play the cover songs, I'm playing the vocal melody on the guitar. If anybody wants to learn how to play lead and lead guitar where it's musical, learn how to play the vocal melody. And then you could add all the speed bursts in between when you get your technique developed, and no matter what it might be. But if it doesn't sound musical, ooh, it's not going to stand up too well. So what I wanted to get to was talking about technology. Of course, I took the snapshot of the loop pedal. I still have the original Boss loop pedals, the RC20 and the RC20XL, which maybe, I don't know which one I can reveal. They look identical. Let's see, like a circus thing. This is the original RC20. The 20XL, it has the word letters XL, and it's very similar to this, except with that you could do a fade out. This you cannot do a fade out. There's your inputs and outputs, your battery access. Let's see, this one we got in 2002. I think that's when this came out. The XL, the second version of this, came out, or at least we got it, November 18th, the day after my birthday, 2004. So I think that XL came out earlier that year, 2004. And of course, we got the RC300, which is now considered old technology. I love the way it works. The RC5 is a few years old, but I like the way it works. I could, load up tracks and things of that nature. Now, the thing is with looping pedals, it is really not a new idea. If you were to look up on YouTube, I think just type in Les Paul. You put not the guitar Les Paul. The Gibson guitar Les Paul was named after the guy Les Paul. On the Merv Griffin show, I forget what year this was, but it was 70s, maybe 80s. He had looked like a tape recording device on his guitar. He called it the pulverizer, like after Les Paul, the pulverizer. What it was the first version of a looper. A lot of people don't realize that Les Paul was also an innovator. He helped pioneer multi-track recording. So the concept of looping goes far back, where you could do it on the fly. Some people started to get the idea, well, you could live loop, so then if you're a duo, you eliminate one person. None of this technology is going to replace a human being. It's just a device we humans use. But the thing is with looping, I'm going to use this as an example. It will record a human element, but the human element at that time right there. So let's say, and I don't have I got my pedals up here. I'm not going to actually do the loop, but I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm playing a rhythm that's like this. Let's see if you can see the syncopated rhythm I'm doing here. So I'm doing a rhythm that's like this. So I loop it, it's going to play that exact way. It won't catch that unless I loop it. Or it won't catch this. It won't catch that unless I loop that. When you're playing with another person, it's like right on the fly as you're playing. You could go ahead and just start putting syncopated rhythms. Plus, the advantage of having another person there, everybody is going to approach the instrument differently. So that's the beauty of it, because now you get two different people, two different perspectives of playing that same rhythm and taking turns soloing over it and things of that nature. But the point was that the idea of a looper, started saying, oh, well, is it going to replace people? Not exactly, but in a way it did. See, this is what I'm going to get into with this catch-22 with technology. That's like the same with DJs. I remember when weddings, there would be wedding bands. Not a wedding band on the finger, it'd be that too, of course. But if people wanted music, they hired a band. And the whole band we would be playing. I know we did a wedding gig when we were still living in Chicago. And it was downtown Chicago. They hired us to do the cocktail dinner and the cocktail hour, because I did a lot of the classical and flamenco guitar. So yeah, we wanted him to do that. And then later on for the dancing, they had a full band. And I thought, wow, that is so cool that they're hiring a band as opposed to a DJ. Now, the catch-22 with this is the reason why they went the DJ route is because, number one of the main reasons, it's easier to pay one or two people than it is a 6-piece, 7-piece band, you know what I mean? And then, even if you have a band where you have a male and a female vocalist, they're not going to be able to nail every single cover song exact. And you get people say, oh, they'll play exact. You get people that'll sound dangerously close. Absolutely. You will get that. But if you put the real deal right in the same room next to them and you listen, you're going to be able to tell the difference between the two. And that's life. That's just how it is. We are our own individual person. We have our own uniqueness. But the DJs, they come by, and when people got hip to that, well, guess what? They were going more of the route of the DJ than the full band. And that was when there was records in it. That back in the day with DJ, with the two Technique 1200 turntables. And then things just started slowly but surely started to escalate into the modern, what we got now. What happened was the DJs put a lot of musicians out of work. I also remember when some of the clubs downtown Chicago started hiring DJs for the regular night. And I mean, they'd have the band nights, but some of the places downtown Chicago, like the Snuggery and those type of places, that was on Rush Street, they went the route of having a DJ. It's easy to pay one person. And guess what? I'll tell you what, we'll have the gear staged in here. Maybe we'll buy the gear and just hire the, you know what I mean? Any way to cut corners. And that's what they did. But now your traveling DJs, they started getting more and more work. And it put a lot of us musicians out of work. And I remember one of the conventions we were at, it was a wedding convention that we were doing. We had our booth and that. And I remember walking around checking out the other booths when I was able to have some time. Because Deb had me in the booth and we'd be playing and spotlighting what we do and what we offer for a live musician. If you wanted to hire a live musician for your wedding. And at this point in time, we started to incorporate a DJ service. I'll never forget this. Our first DJ service with Deb and I. Now this Deb, I know, like I said, Deb was doing this business back in the 80s. Deb and I, we met in 98 and got married in 99. So this is like in the, I want to say the mid-2000s, like maybe 2007, 2008, I can't remember exactly. But we're at this wedding convention where, you rent the booth, you got photographers, you got people with the flowers there, people with, again, the photography booth, DJs, musicians. I think I was one of the few musicians that was there at this particular one. We did quite a few of these showcases. We did a lot of them in Naperville, Illinois, at the, oh my God, I forget what was it called now. They had an old church that was there. Naperville Settlement, it was called, right off of Ogden Avenue. If there's people out there that know that area, you know what I'm talking about. They'd have us play in the church there. Because with the classical guitar, what's nice there, if you want to hire me for the ceremony, they'd hear all the pieces I'd be playing. Like, oh, that sounds beautiful. Oh, you do this too? Okay. But it was at this hotel, this one particular convention that we did. And I remember I took a little break and I wanted to walk around. And I remember there was a guy that came by our booth and saw what we were doing. And I thought, yeah, I know he's got a booth. Maybe he's a photographer. And well, it turned out he also had a DJ booth. It was on like the other side. We were like, it was so packed. The room was filled with vendors, and then they also had the hallway, and they had all of us vendors out in the hallway too. Well, I happened to go in there, walking up and down the aisles, and this one guy I was talking with, and I recognized him. He came by our booth, check it out. We got talking, and he he liked that I was playing, but he's not a musician, he's a DJ. But he didn't like the fact that what we were doing was kind of like, now I don't remember a price being out there, but maybe he asked that. I don't remember. But even if he was taking an educated guess on our pricing, he made the comment that it's kind of not fair because you could be putting us DJs out of business because now it's a DJ with a live musician. And I was, cordial to the guy, and I looked at him and I said, "Well, welcome to the club." He kind of gave me a look, and I said, "It's no different than when the DJs came out and put all the working musicians out of business." And he didn't really know. He didn't have an answer for that. I mean, I met wisdom as we parted, but the point is that how technology is the catch-22 and how we will use it to our advantages, but it has other disadvantages, and how to be able to manipulate the two to make it work for you, where that's what everyone's doing. Everybody is doing it. So as we parted, I was thinking about, okay, you know, we're going to run into this, and it's just the nature of the beast. That's all it is. You're going to run into that. Now, when everything started to excel in the growth of technology and social media, like for instance, the platforms of YouTube and all the other social media, it's a great thing because we can network. I call this, you could basically say this is the modern day pen pal. Back in the day, you find someone, write a letter. I'm gonna, you'll be my pen pal, right? Now we don't need that because we have this. And the advantage with this platform, this YouTube and all these other social media, it goes worldwide. I'll tell you what, I started playing guitar in 1974. I was 11 years old, and this technology certainly was not around. And I remember back in the 80s, me and my friends having our jam sessions and just, man, wishing that we could just get that break. Back then, you'd mail in your cassette tape as a demo, see if someone would sign you and all this and that. And just to get your music out there, you had to actually rely on other people. Now it's just your phone, boom, there it is, and everyone could see it at their convenience. And how convenient it is. We all use it. I use it a lot too. I mean, come on, I'm not gonna lie to you. But the thing is, what it started to do, and I started to notice this after this comment was made. Hold on 1 second, guys. I gotta do something. There was I gotta do something here. I gotta start closing these curtains here. This is gonna really make some people think about something here, especially of those who remember the growth of music, the technology, and all that good stuff. The situation with what started happening. I remember we would do these shows like with the looping pedal. I used to do it with the backing tracks, and how we got started with that was we would do some of these guitar clinics, and we were basically describing how we come up with the ideas up against this chord progression and that chord progression, and it started to develop into a one-man band type of a thing. So when the looping pedals came out, like, wow, this is great, I could do things on the fly, and it's also a lot easier to travel with this technology than with a full band. If everybody in the band are not on the same schedule, then you're not just scheduling around your schedule. You're scheduling your gigs around everybody, and it could be a real hassle. It could be a real hassle. But I remember one of our friends, Ken Hawk, he had a local TV show called Ken Hawk's Rock and Roll Revolution. It was in Naperville, Illinois. He had me as a guest on his show. He had my friend T.D. Clark that was also a guest on his show. I remember, and actually Ken would come out to our shows. We'd be playing all kind of places. I remember one was at the Paramount Theater downtown Aurora, and we were in a huge lobby, and he's there making change, helping my wife make change. We were selling CDs that much. I mean, this place was packed, man, and everybody's dressed up nice. You have some people dressed up casual, but it was mostly for that type of event. And it was in a theater, and Ken was like, "Man, I can't believe it. His show was metal and rock, and I also do metal and rock, but I also do jazz fusion and classical." And he was like, he got a chance to see this other world, and just these people have money to spend, and they was buying our CDs left and right, left and right, and it was a great thing. And I remember one particular afternoon, we all, my wife and him, and we all went out to lunch. And this is when things started to hit. Like I remember, this is when the record stores were we were starting to see record stores close. And he made a comment of Ken. He made a comment that he goes, "Wow, man, you know, I wonder if technology is moving in the direction of, pretty soon we're not even gonna have any CDs, you know, and how is it going to be for musicians?" If I'm not mistaken, that comment was made, let's say around 2010, 2011, something around that, in that area. And I thought, well, yeah, that's something to think about. But however, at that time, people would still buy CDs. Cars were still being built with CD players. You would still have people still buying stereo systems, boom boxes with CD players. But slowly but surely, what is happening? I really appreciate you guys tuning in. What's happening, brother? Slowly but surely, the day came when the last music record store closed and everything is online. And I remember starting to see YouTube. One of my guitar students had told me this when I was teaching back up in Illinois. Was telling me about YouTube, and I remember getting out like, "Ooh, this is really cool." And our very first video we put on YouTube on my other channel, just titled Dave Byron. Our very first YouTube video was me playing the Star Spangled Banner on the BC Rich Warlock. Let me get this guy out here so you can check this out. This bad boy right here, next to the guitar synth. Yeah, look at that, great guitar. So I'm playing the Star Spangled Banner. It was in Elgin, Illinois, at a high school gym, and it was a guitar clinic slash guitar, like vintage guitar show. And so Deb recorded the video. That show was in August, but she was able to post the video in October 2006. So we've been on YouTube since 2006 consecutively. I started noticing more and more concert videos being put on YouTube. Wow, Robin Trower, awesome, old Robin Trower, this is great, man. And then some old Al Di Meola and Return to Forever, and then Iron Maiden, and just little by little things started to evolve and evolve and evolve. And I was also seeing movies being put on YouTube and that. I think what happened was people did not realize what was going to happen with YouTube and how, easy access. I mean, I could pull up I could pull up old Star Trek, the animated versions of Star Trek that I used to watch as a kid, that came out like, well, I would say maybe 1971, 72, 73, around that time. And I matter of fact, I think I had a couple of cassette tapes of the episode. Now it's on YouTube. Or a thing called The Return of the Planet of the Apes, an animated Saturday morning cartoon show. All up. Speed Racer, the original Spider-Man from the 60s, which we got the DVDs. All this stuff being put up on YouTube. And I'll never forget another comment that was made when we're at one of our friends' house in Bolingbrook, Illinois. And there was this young kid talking about, man, music should be free. He wants to buy a microphone. He wants to be a singer in a metal band. But music should be free. And I thought, well, not really. See, we had the thing with the Napster going on in the late 90s, and that was going through a kerfuffle right there. And a lot of people were first mad at Lars Ulrich from Metallica from stopping it. But what he started to foresee was the beginning of free music. And fast forward to like the mid 2000s, and this kid made this comment, yeah, music should be free, free, free. You got to be careful of free, man, because it's going to cost you on the backside. And what eventually started to happen was record stores closed. And I mean standalone buildings, Crow's Nest Records, that Metalhead Hippie. Oh my God. What's happening, brother? Hope you are doing well. Hope you are doing well. You're a good man, Metalhead Hippie. You help a lot of YouTubers out, man. You deserve a lot of credit. Good thumbs up to you, brother. I know my absence has been quite some time, but like I said in one of the videos a few years ago, I was coming to a fork in the road with all the live shows that I had to do more of the live shows than, spending all this time on YouTube and still, trying to stream what we could stream. Thank you, brother. You rock too, man. You are awesome. Sometimes you gotta hit that fork in the road where you gotta make that decision. See, here's the reality. We don't really make any money on YouTube that I know of. But the people that got these mega channels with gazillions, bazillions, trizillions, and words that can't even pronounce. That's how many subscriptions and prescriptions they have, and I'm not making fun of anybody. Then you find out some of these people, they quit their job, I'm going to be a YouTube star, and they find out, ooh, the money's not really coming in like I thought it was. And then things are changing on YouTube. I used to be able to do this, but now I can't. Well, what happened? We used to be able to see the live chats. Now, as soon as when I am done with this live stream, I used to be able to watch this, especially the next day, and watch the comments, all the live comments. They took that away for whatever reason. Hey, they took it away. So they got the power. You don't. So they can manipulate your pay. You can't say, hey, I need a raise. They could say, sorry. This is what I mean. That's why I don't rely on stuff like this. Because it's always changing, but one thing that's more constant is us going out there and making money, and there it is, So I came to that fork in the road where I had to look at reality that was for us. Not everything is for everybody, and everyone needs to look at their situation and be able to evaluate where they're at and make those decisions based on what your needs are. So what started to happen was record stores, getting back to my story here, record stores started closing. And it was like, oh my God. Here's the bad side of the technology. How many people lost their jobs? I remember for a very short time, I want to say, this might have been the early 90s. That's the old man Dan. I'm doing well. I have, let's see. Oh, let's see if this, speaking of technology, we'll bring that back up. Yeah, I have not been posting because work doesn't, leave me much time to play. Yeah. Tell you what, man. Do what you need to do. Because when I see some of these videos, this is not to say anything bad. If a person has the opportunity to leave their place of employment or they're shut down their business and whatever they need to do, or to do music live or art, find art full time. It's always it's a great experience, especially when you're younger, to do this. It really is. Deb and I we were living off our music for a good 5+ years. We done it. We know, but we also know that it could be a roller coaster. We had a solid 5-year annual increase. She was tracking it. Like, wow, man. And things are starting to go like this. when we started having to pull out money out of our personal account because we didn't have enough money in the business account, that was the telltale sign right there. And we have CDL license, so we went back to our driving job because we did a lot of different things, but a lot of it, was to survive and to help the music. And we were able to do that and still play. Win-win. Two sources of income. If one goes like this, we got the solid, steady Eddie, and then we could work on the floundering. But if you rely only on this and it goes floundering, ooh, it's not good, man. But again, I'm not trying to tell people what they should and shouldn't do. I'm just letting you know what you have to do when things get tight. So when I see these videos they're not trying to coax people. They really are trying to encourage people and in a positive way, and inspire people. If you want to go out there, it's a great experience. Blah blah blah. And a lot of them will say, when things get tight, you need to do what you need to do because everybody's financial situation is different, and even their health situation is different. So you can't base your situation on some other famous YouTuber that's, there's some of these people who I'm not gonna, some of them, I don't really even pay attention to the names because, it's almost like on a ridiculous side when they're trying to tell people, I'm teaching and I never lose students. No, you're gonna lose students. They're gonna always come and go. I have. And it's nothing that you're doing wrong. Part of the problem is when you get kids and the parents got the kids involved in football, basketball, baseball, golf, backman, underwater basket weaving, and theater, and dance, and music. Everything is money, 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 money. And when dad's overtime gets cut, then something's got to get cut over here. And if little Johnny and little Susie are not really showing too much interest of this gets cut. That's the reality. And then you lose a student, or you lose two students. That's the reality. There's a real world that exists. It might not happen all the time, but it does happen. So when I would hear people, and I used to hear this, I never lose any students. That's great. That's wonderful. But it's not a matter of if, it's when. And are you prepared for that financially? That's it right there. Everyone does what they want. That's up to them. Getting back to when the record stores started closing. Think about all those people lost their jobs. And I was just saying, in the early 90s, for about 2 or 3 weeks, I know it was less than a month. Or maybe it was a month and a half. Maybe I collected 2 checks. For a very short while, I had a second job working at a record store. I can't remember the name. It was not Crow's Nest Records or Coconut Records. It was another small record store. It was not a big chain outlet, but it was in a big storefront. And my job was to take all the inventory of all the cassette tapes and the CDs. Because it was starting, the vinyl was starting to fade out. And the 8-tracks started going away long after cassettes got popular and then CDs came in. So it was mostly cassettes and CDs I was doing the inventory of. So I had a shift. There was another guy had a shift. There was 2 managers. There was a regional manager. So right there, you got about 5 people right there that I remember. That's one place. Think about all the other stores. All those people lost their jobs. So this is the bad, when I say the bad side of the equation of technology. When people were getting music for free, why should they pay for it? And it started to alter things pretty badly. And this is why you probably will see, go to a concert and you're playing, Jesus, I got to pay how much money for a ticket? What people don't realize is that how expensive it costs to rent out an arena. The insurance, I've said this once before, we have insurance, we have liability insurance when we would play the casinos. We had to have it, otherwise you ain't gonna play the and it was different for us. I do know that one of the guys, Tim Connolly, drummer, he talks about the casino gigs, and he's right. And of course, he's up in Canada, but it's not just up in Canada, it's down here in the U.S. There is the casino circuit that you play, that they would pick and choose you. But then how we got into the casino is that they hired me to do a corporate gig. They liked what I was doing, and then they got the idea But even from day one, they asked us if we had a insurance, proof of insurance. And the reason being is if someone trips over something and due to an event that they normally don't have, someone falls, breaks a fingernail, they get the idea to call Morgan and Morgan, and they show up at in court with a neck brace, and they can't move, and they only broke the fingernail. The story starts to get a little bit more elaborate as their money gets put into the equation. Hey, you didn't just break your fingernail, you broke your toe, your finger, and your neck looks a little bit. Yeah, I do feel this. Yeah, here's my doctor. We'll set you up. You know what I mean? Okay, you come up, we go to court. Oh, this poor guy. He'll never be able to work again in his life. We're gonna sue for every penny you have. This is how it is. This is reality, man. So you gotta have the insurance. So we would start getting hired for those called the high roller luncheons and dinners at the Paradise Casino in East Peoria. So that's how we were doing the casino gigs. And we were still able to sell CDs. And I remember some of our shows that we were doing, we would have a booth. We'd be able to have the CD signing and sell our CDs. People were buying them and that. Now, at our last gig we did on Sunday at Miramar Outlet, the lady, as this always happens when I shut the live stream off and we're going to the car loading up, a lady, she comes up, she goes, man, I love what you're playing. She's like, nobody is doing what you're doing, and it just sounds just so uniquely different and so soothing, but yet you're able to rock out. And now, not everyone's gonna like what I'm doing. That's okay. I respect people's honesty. Everyone's entitled to have their opinion. But she said, She said, you should have your music on all these platforms, and I do, but I don't remember everything because I'm not. I work on this, and Deb does that. It's 24 hours in a day, my friends. Always remember that. Yeah, but I could do this and that. And I could sleep. I used to be able to sleep on 4 hours of sleep, but I'm 60 years old. I'm not old, but I don't want to get older and sick as I get older. I want to be as healthy as I can be. So I told her, yeah. I said, we'll talk to my wife about it. She knows all that. So she goes, yeah, I'd like to buy a CD, but look, my car. She had a nice Cadillac Escalade SUV, beautiful car. It doesn't even have a CD player. You see? So not only did technology wipe out people working at the record stores, what about the people that were manufacturing the CD players, the stereos with the CD players, the boom boxes with the CD players, and the cassette players? Stuff that you had to actually buy music and play it on these devices to enjoy. Now everything is free, and you got it on your phone, and you plug it into a surround sound system, and boom, there went this whole portion of the music business of industry went down the toilet, because it was not just the performing musicians that got to charge XYZ for the tickets at the arena that I just mentioned earlier, that everyone thinks everybody's filthy stinking rich. You know what? On this side note, I forget who it was that said about Don Henley. I'm only using him as an example. He made his money. He's giving copyright strikes if you play Hotel California. This and he's copy striking everybody. Boy, he's going to town. Everyone's getting the axe. Blah blah blah. He made his money. How do you know that money didn't get spent? Well, that's his problem. Well, okay, fine. Everyone has the assumption that because you're a musician, and especially in the rock vein, although Eagles are a good band, but not like, we got metal, but they have the assumption that everybody's filthy stinking rich. And even if they had all that money and they spent it and they bought themselves a nice mansion, well, see, he lives in a mansion, and if it's paid for, people forget about the property taxes. You got to keep up the taxes on that. Otherwise, maybe someone like you could come in, if you're wise enough, hey, he's not paying his property taxes. I just got an inheritance. I'm going to pay the property tax, and boom, eminent domain, you get the access of the property because you're paying the taxes. See, people forget about all these things. Oh, he's got Don. I don't know if he does or he doesn't. I'm just using this as an example. He's got 5 Bentleys, 3 Maseratis, and probably 2 Porsches. Okay. Well, if he's having fun driving all those cars around, I don't know. At some point, don't you have to do an oil change? At some point, you may have to, replace the tires. Oh, the brakes. Do you know how expensive it is, the maintenance on those cars? Oh, but they're. Oh, he got them paid for too. Oh, here comes the insurance on it. Especially down here in Florida, auto insurance is very high. The point I'm making is that people have the assumption that everyone has this money. And even if they do, they earned it, they worked for it. And if they want to go and hit all of us on YouTube and with the copyright strikes, if they own the rights to that music, it's still theirs. And you got to respect that. So when you go to the concert and you go, I know there's a lot of tribute bands that are playing just as good, if not better. They're younger, they got the energy. You go see the Rolling Stones now, everyone's in their 80s. They're still, I give them a lot of credit, they're still going out there rocking out. But you get a Rolling Stones tribute band where everybody just graduated out of the School of Rock. Like one of my students who writes with me, she plays at the School of Rock. Good for her. And, they just graduated high school or they graduated college. They're in their 20s and 30s. You can have a little bit more energy in your 20s and 30s than you are in your 80s. And let's just say that. Well, why do I got to pay $600 for a nosebleed seat to see the Rolling Stones? Because it's the Rolling Stones and they could charge it. Okay? But this is the result of free music. I know people might disagree with me on that, but I'll tell you what, man. I look at things as they are, and I know what we experience. I cannot possibly, we're not possibly the only people in this entire world that would have, financial ups and downs. Everyone does. And then you put to the equation a bad economy. What do you think happens? And now, again, this is not trying to trash and bash technology. That's all bad. Of course, there's a lot of good it's done. It's just that catch-22. And how it affects us gigging musicians, we still get the tips and we still get paid. But there are more and more people, and we still have that little, I guess what I feel what you call that little symbol, people come up their phone, because a lot of people have done that. Last Friday, I was a couple. Really liked what I was playing, and when I found out it was my original song, she was like, oh my God. And this is a young couple, I'm a 60-year-old man, that's a young couple. They're liking the groove music that I'm doing, the jazzy music. This new young generation is different than us rockers when we were their age in the 80s. And when I was in my teen, especially my early 20s, I was still playing this kind of music, jazz fusion stuff. I loved it. But I also got involved in rock and metal because I loved it. But she takes the picture, and that's how she tipped us and that. More and more people are doing that. I know more and more people will tip electronically at restaurants as opposed to cash. So the technology has changed the way we think. It's changed the way we do business. It's changed the way we even act. And the good side is that it could save time, but the bad side, it saves so much time that more work gets piled on everybody. So it's like, oh boy, there's never enough hours in a day. And there's never enough money to be made. Because everything's electronic, and we gotta sometimes wait for a payout, and it eliminates work. Now, what starts to happen because of the decline in purchasing music, I'll never forget the first time I had this conversation with someone about the they call the PROs, the Performance Rights Organizations, BMI, ASCAP, and there's one called CSAC. They send people out. I'll never forget when I told them, one of our last gigs back up in Naperville, Illinois, at a place called Danny's Pub. The owner of the restaurant at the time came up to me and asked if I had my own music. And I said, well, yeah. And I was kind of, I was grateful that she asked that because, I like to do my own music more than the covers. That's just the way I am. That's all. I do like the covers, but I like playing my stuff. She asked me if I had my own music. I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, because last weekend, a guy came out and he's at the table there having a beer and a burger, and we're talking, and he's noticing I had some flyers with live music and that. So he made a comment about that, and then she goes, "Oh yeah, in the weekends we have." And he made a comment about, well, you gotta pay for all that, and she was like, "What? You mean I gotta pay for it? I could wouldn't pay for it. What do you mean? Yeah, you gotta pay into that so you can have the cover bands play, don't you?" "Oh no, it's my place. I do what I want." And he said, "No." I guess he showed her his credentials, who he was, representing BMI, and said that no, if you don't, you get fined, because this is a public place of business. You're making money, and how much money you make on the weekends, you got the cover bands playing in. If it's bringing in business, you're making money off of them playing this stuff, and it's not their own music, so they're making money. You're making money off of someone else's work. That's how bad things had gotten. And if anyone well, I guess they still will have music books, at Guitar Center, but that's even dwindled. But I remember getting the music books, the song books, and right there, you open the page, and it's got all this about copyright and performance rights. It's not just putting stuff on the internet; it's also live performance. What do you do in live performance? I wonder where you put all live performance. Oh, a bar, a restaurant, a club. Yeah, gotcha. And these people come out, and you never know when they're gonna come out. They might come up to the owner. Usually, they do, because this happened again in a town called Oswego, Illinois. And this guy, he just happened to be playing the overhead music, and the guy's asking him, and the guy says, "I can do what I want." And he says, "No, you can't, man. This is a public place." I guess it got so bad for that guy, he got fined so much that he couldn't afford the fines. He couldn't afford to stay open. So this is what has happened with free music. It's always been this situation with the copyrights, but it's never been this progressively bad. And Rick Beato, when he went to do the was that summit with Congress, and his thing was about the fair use, and if it's going to be anything educational. I think educational, they were able to say, okay, listen, we gotta get a handle on this, because they're using these as examples. So he was able to get that, and good for him. However, however, when I learned how to play guitar, I learned how to play chords and strum rhythms. Then we were learning these little songs. Half of them, I think, these two ladies. There was two ladies that had the guitar program. Horace Greeley Elementary, Chicago, Illinois. The old Horace Greeley on corner of Sheffield and Grace Street. That's where I had guitar lessons. I was 11 years old, 1974. Well, actually, it could have been I was 10 going on 11, because my birthday's in November. So I want to say this could have, because school in Chicago starts after Labor Day. The guitar program, I think, started in October, but I always say 11 because I'm going to turn 11 anyways. But my point is that we learned how to play chords and rhythms. There was no really focus on cover songs. So when I hear people say, I have to teach cover songs, no, you don't. Teach rhythms, teach them how to apply this. Then of course you could use the cover songs as an example. So I think with that, the fair use, they were able to say, look, maybe we'll help this out, because this is getting a little bit too out of hand. It got out of hand because everybody wanted free music, and then remember when you sign up for whatever phone provider, and this was in like maybe 2010, 11, whatever. Free music. I remember seeing the ads on TV. The guy, the spokesperson, telling these young teenagers, "Hey man, free music. Who doesn't want free music, right? Free music, yeah, ain't that nice? Wonderful. Let's put more people out of business. Ain't that nice? How would you like to be put out of business? How are you gonna pay your bills with free? It's a reality. I'm not knocking. I use this technology too. Hey, I'm just as guilty as everyone else. But I do draw a line, and I do certain things that, like, okay, I'm not going to do this because that person needs to make money too. I know what it feels like. So it has affected everybody. It's affected the gigging world. Now, because of that, the restaurant owners, they have to pay into a fee. It's an annual fee. It varies. And when you have situations where you have a bad economy, plus you're in an area where you had, natural, just, disasters happening, and we got tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and there's damage, major damages to cities, and the government's got to bail everybody out with the funds, and then insurance companies go out of business. It is a train wreck. It is a domino effect that, like what happened with Hurricane Ian, and now we're hitting hurricane season again, and everybody's like this. Oh Lord, please, not another bad one, because we're still recovering from the last one 2 years ago. Because everything takes a long time. You don't just, okay, knock the building down and rebuild. Mm-mm. They got the engineers come over down here. They got the insurance companies, some of them that went out of business. The restaurant owners, their homes got destroyed, or because of maybe their home did get destroyed, but the same, like they're on the same insurance company as some of the people who did, so their rates go jacked up high. Everyone gets jacked up price wise, and they go out and, boy, they say they have a 10-course meal, now they have a 1-course meal. And we'll buy the 1-course, the super size, and split it in half, and honey, you get this half and I'll get this half. And I'll tell you what, let's get the big super size, fountain drink. You get a straw and I get a straw, and we'll share it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So the domino effect that it happens for us gigging musicians, the restaurants start losing business, and then they gotta start cutting back. We just had on our local news down here, one of the major food suppliers that delivers to all the restaurants. Not all of them, but a big portion of them. They sold. Someone bought them out. Now maybe the two brothers that have it are getting ready to retire, and the family, the kids don't want to take the business. Okay, we'll sell it. But I can guarantee you this, whatever the case is, I can guarantee you this: the new owners are going to go in, first thing they do is they see the opportunity. Okay, I want to buy a company. I want to, put my money, invest it, and make my money back, make it grow. Blah blah blah. And this looks like it's a good thing. But let's check the books. How much money is actually coming in before I, put a dollar down payment on a $1 billion company or whatever it is. If you have a company that's a food supplier, and this company is up further north, it's down here in Florida, but it's just the next town up, about good, maybe 25, 30 miles up the road. You got a whole fleet of trucks, all diesel fuel, and they got to drive to Yucatan's in Matlacha Island. Maybe that's a good 40 miles from the base, and where they have all the food, where they got the freezers, they gotta have all the burger patties and everything else, and they gotta drive. Just that's one restaurant. It's one of many restaurants on their route, and you're burning fuel. And with fuel prices up now, a lot of places they're going to accommodate the fluctuation of fuel. That's just normal. But when it goes high and it stays high for a while, then they got to say, hey, wait a minute, man, we got to have to jack up our prices here. So the new owners see that and say, okay, we might have to raise our prices even more, passing that on to the vendor that's ordering the food, aka the restaurant that you happen to be playing at. Man, we lost some customers, man. People are feeling a pinch. It's a little bit tight in the bucks. The bridge is out. That's why they quit having music, at least for now. They can't afford to pay us. The decline in customers, they're working on the bridge. That's right there. They get the idea. I got an idea. Let's let's repaint the sign. We don't need to, but let's repaint. Well, in this case, they have to work on more. I think they're widening the road. So next hurricane, everyone's got a way to get off the island, not just one in and one out. But what it does is it starts to, the car line goes way back a couple of miles, and people want to sit in traffic. So if they're going to come out, they say, I'm not going out tonight, man. I don't want to get stuck in that traffic. I'm going to stay home. One person does it, two people not. Next thing you know, the restaurant that we're playing at starts losing customers because they don't want to be stuck in traffic. Next thing you know, they can't afford to pay us. So they cut their music. And then if this new company that's taken over this other company, if they got to jack their prices up for the deliveries because it costs the fuel. Because one thing that people got to also remember is that when these trucks go out, the state trooper watches everything. If anyone out there is thinking about having any type of a transportation company, you could do this. You could definitely do this. Especially if you do like NEMT or delivery service. Especially once you start lettering your truck or your van, now you're commercial. But especially if you're if you have over a certain weight and you're gonna be transporting people, your front tires, you better make sure that they're always up to par. They're not going down bald, because that state trooper is going to see that, going to pull you over and say, And on a truck, whether it's a school bus or a regular bus or truck, those big tires, they're very expensive, man. There's another cost. So what starts to happen is that this gets put on the restaurant owners, and then they got to okay, man, what are we going to do? That's one of the expenses, but the other expense is that with the technology. Not really, because then the PROs, Performance Rights Organizations, they come out and they start fining people, and because no one's buying music anymore. It's like everyone's being hit from all ends. So it's just something to reconsider before you pull the trigger and want to go full time with this, that, and the other. Make sure that you're financially covered. You could do it, because if not, it's gonna be a rough ride, man. It could be a very rough ride. It could be very stressful. Very, very stressful. But the positives on the technology is that because we have these apps, people get into the gig economy where they're delivering food, Hub Grub, and all this, that, and the other, and they can make some money on the things that was what's considered practical. Where it gets tough is on the artistic things. It's still not the end of the world, because you will still have people out there that will still want to go out, whether they see you play at a restaurant, or they see you play at a farmer's market, or arts and crafts show, because we've done those. There are still some people out there that want to, they're old school, they want to keep it going, and they'll do what they can to keep it going. So that's the good side. That's what I mean by the catch-22 with technology, because just got to learn how to deal with it. I remember when it was being said, when Blockbuster Videos were open up and all, you're renting out the movies. Go to rent out the VCR. Rent out the movies, that it was going to destroy the movie theaters. Well, it didn't exactly destroy them, but it took a big chunk out of them. I can tell you that, because I remember as a kid downtown Chicago we had United Artists, and we had a few other foods, but they were all in the heart of downtown. The reason why I remember the United Artists so much, we went there a lot. I'll never forget the summer of 1975, standing in a very, very, very long line around the block to see the then movie that was just coming out, the new blockbuster called Jaws. And everybody would be at the movie theater. And when the rentals came out, the VCR rentals, the Blockbuster Videos and Hollywood Videos, whatever videos, started renting out the movies, these places started to close. Some of them turned into X-rated places, and then finally they got closed down, and then the building sat dormant. Then later on, they started bringing plays and theater, back for nostalgia reasons. You had some investors that wanted to keep it going, but it did take a big chunk out of it. So the same way with the free music, taking a chunk out of everyone making money, and this is, now when you go out and play, you're selling T-shirts and mugs and things of that nature, and pictures. You just have to learn how to be creative to maybe reinvent yourself out there. And if you are the type of person that is maybe doing more research because you're not too sure exactly what it is you want to incorporate, and your gigs start going down to the point where, okay, maybe I just need to rent a booth to do some sales and then occasionally play here and there, then do what you need to do. And yeah, I know a lot of people, they get a little bit disappointed, man, they gotta go back to work or whatever, but there is a reality that there is nowhere it's written that you have to be a professional full-time musician and or artist. There's nowhere where it's written. You're going into this. It's like any other business. It's just, this is what I love with my wife, since she says this. It's like any other business. It happens to be a little bit different, and it falls in the sector of more of a want than a need, and that's the issue. That is the issue. There, for music, there is music therapy. I do believe you do have to be certified. I'm not too sure, but I'm not 200% on that, but I'm pretty sure you have to be certified, I think, with the license, even for some of these places. Now, we used to get hired for some of the senior centers and that, but that's kind of different than if you actually go in and do a performance for music therapy, because now you're putting yourself in that situation. However, my point I'm trying to make here is that, yeah, you can go that route, get your certificate, look into this, get any certifications that you may need, certifications, I mean, sorry, and then you could start turning this into maybe a full-time business, not maybe a side business, supplement your income. So that's where the music will fall more into a needs category, because there are people out there that do use it. I do know, because one of the schools I was teaching at, we also would teach what's deemed as special needs, and I really don't like using that term because I don't want it to disrespect the families or the people out there. But I had quite a few students that had autism and a bit of Down syndrome. And the very first student I taught was, I'd go to their personal house. And I do remember the mom telling me that their son had these CDs that would listen to. It'd be like stuff that would calm them. And I know some people say for the music therapy, ambient style of music, because it's a nice drone, it calms them. And that's what its purpose is. Now, if you play shred metal, chances of you want to play an ambient where you're just playing a drone, one chord or one note, and letting it ring out for 22 bars. Not the bars you go out drinking. That's not the bars I'm talking about. You know, you're gonna have to develop a interest and liking into it. Otherwise, it could be very tough. But my point is, it does exist. So, in closing here, um, we're all in the same boat, and we're all in the same boat with the technology. Whether it's this technology, and people saying, "Man, for all my friends out there that get discouraged, and new friends that I met in the world of fine art, that they get picked on with all the people out there that want to troll and hate and all that. Just try to ignore them. Do the best you can to ignore them. See, I know where my channel's at with subscriptions and all that. I see it, but it doesn't really bother me because when I came to that fork in the road and I had to do more of the live gigs and spend all day on this, it made me realize on my very first channel that's still up. When we started that channel, I didn't even know about comments. Because I'm technologically not advanced. That's not my thing. So I was totally oblivious to the comments or any of that. And some people thought I was being rude, and I wasn't. I'm just being 100% honest. I just didn't know about it. We posted our videos up to spotlight what I do, and then also that is how we were getting work. We were getting, because people would watch the videos and say, "Hey man, I want to hire this guy," and then we would start doing the wedding gigs, the corporate gigs, and they were able to see what I do. They liked it, and they would hire me. And then I get paid from them directly. Because I'd be at their facility, or if they rented out a facility or their private home. Some people do that, what's called the house gigs, because they don't want to go out. They don't like the nightlife scene, or they outgrew it. They just, I'm done with that. I did that when I was younger. I'm doing this, and blah blah blah, and that world exists out there. So what I started to do with this channel was go back to that way of thinking, where the reason why we started doing this is to show what we do, and if we can encourage other people to get the message out there. That's more important than the views. And the views are important, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I appreciate everyone that watches my videos. But my point is that if you have a message to tell, don't worry that you don't have the latest and greatest high-def camera and audio interface and the background with wind blowing your hair and all this other crap that's irrelevant to your message. Because I'm telling you, there's people out there that are going to be more fixed to get information than to be entertained by it. And then it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So don't get so discouraged. You know, I think one of the things that we have going for us is that I only bring it up to help other people who may be feeling this. I don't bring it up to say, I need to get this subscription. It's sure it'd be nice, but I'm not going to beg for it, and I'm not going to cry over it. That's only one portion of my life that is in existence. Like I said, we do the live gigs and getting also involved in the fine art and that. And I haven't done that. Last time when I was drawing and doing that heavily, I was like 8, 9 years old. It's very therapeutic for me. And we sold, even though we sold one painting, that's okay. I'm not going to cry over it. Keep things going. I think what happened, everyone has gotten to this competition to the point where they're almost like at each other's throats. Oh, I'm better than you. No, I could play faster than you. Oh, I could play louder than you. I could paint this picture better. I could do this, that better than you. Everyone's better. But then they look at themselves. Well, why did you start doing it in the first place? When I started playing guitar, I was, like I said, I was like 11 years old. And I come up in the era with AM radio in Chicago as a guy named Clark Weber. He was one of the radio disc jockeys in Chicago at the time. And there was no shredding. Eddie Van Halen was not out. Well, he was out in California, but he wasn't what he became later with, Eruption and all that. That wasn't around. And the people that were playing virtuosically were your flamenco guitar players, classical and jazz, and they were not getting any air time on the radio. So it was not around. Oh, you don't hear it, you don't know it, right? Although I do have to say, what got me interested in the flamenco guitar and the classical guitar was, I know it had been on the Merv Griffin show. We were little kids, and Charo it was one of those shows. And I think she played, because I remember hearing it. And I thought, wow, man. And we were young kids, ready to go to sleep early, School's the next day, you gotta go to bed. But I remember hearing it, and I remember it had a very strong impact. And classical guitar, the old Night Gallery show that Rod Serling had after Twilight Zone. There was a particular episode called Cool Air. It was a guy that was a scientist that preserved his body 10 years after he died, and he was able to keep going. The background music was classical Spanish guitar, and I just thought, wow, it just sounds just perfect. And my dad used to play motion picture soundtrack music. It was all classical, and then he had a Ramsey Lewis record collection, jazz pianists from Chicago. So I was exposed to this kind of music. I want to say before rock music, and then later on those same years, but like maybe a year or two after, when the hippies would have their band play out in the courtyard. And I was like, ooh, the electric guitars, how cool is that? Ooh, the amplifiers, I was just a little kid, everything looked so big. I thought that was cool. But my point is, we come from people of our age, we come from a different time. And that's why we could still survive. We don't get so involved in this that if it goes away, we could still manage to survive because we just resort to back what we had. That's how it's a good balance. It's a good balance. But my point is, guys and gals out there, everything with technology is gonna be a catch-22. What gets taken away from one area, something else gets replaced, and just learn how to evolve with it. If you're doing anything uh, with music or with art or anything like that, and you have to, you get in situations where technology it helps, and at the same time it gets in the way. Just learn how to go with the flow and understand that this is the world we live in today, and this is part of the reason why we have some of the things we've got going on, both good and bad. Hopefully things could even. And before in closing, for real, before that, there is a guy, a young black guy. His YouTube channel is, I believe, it's called Music Making Money or Money Making Music, something. Or wait a minute, no, Money Music Makeover. I think that's it. And he started talking about there could be some changes from 2026 to 2028 where Spotify might take a big hit and something else is going to come in. And I thought he said some of the live streaming might get affected. And what this could be is one, a positive thing where it's going to be geared more in the artist's favor. Where, because so much money got lost from free stuff, now it's time to, you know, uh, turn the tables a bit to have it where now we're not losing so much money. People are going to start to make money. And I'm not just talking about off of YouTube and streaming. Well, that would be off of that, but where it's almost going to force people, hey, you want this? Here's the sample, but if you want, you got to buy it. And maybe that's what's really needed. Because again, so much business has been cut out because of free stuff. Who knows? Maybe we start to see a resurgence in the CD making and CD players, and it won't just help us independent musicians, because the technology, when it was starting to go up for us, we were able to get our CD burners and burn our own disc and package our own CDs and go out and sell them. I still have a couple of CD recorders, digital, multi-track recorders that have built-in CD burners. My Korg D3200 and my Yamaha AW16G have the built-in CD burners. And maybe we'll start to see that come back as an option. You see, it's nice when there's options to have and not bullying people. No, you gotta just go 100% this way and we're getting rid of all this. It's a bad thing. It's a real bad thing because it really wipes out a lot of businesses. It wipes out a lot of people's livelihoods, and then they lose their jobs. And then when it starts to become a problem where, part of those people were part of the unemployment line when they lost their jobs. And the other part, they got to restructure. Where am I going to work at? Where am I going to work at? A place can only afford to hire so many people. So that's the catch-22 on the technology and what I've seen happen. and it's both good and bad. But let's hope things start to evolve back to the good, where it's more good and more positive than negative. All right, my friends. So I hope this has been a little bit helpful, and sharing some of my thoughts and experiences, what we've gone through, and hopefully that inspires people that you're not alone. We're all in it together, and we all stick together and try to pull one another up to go forward. So I'll leave that with you, and I know we do have a gigs on Sunday from 2 to 4. We will be streaming that live, and I'm gonna do more of the rock stuff. I'll mix it up. I have to feel out this audience. I only got a 2 hour window to play, so we will see how that works. But it's gonna be a lot of fun, anyways. Anyways, guys, you have a great evening, a great Friday and Saturday coming up, and we will see you on Sunday. Until then, you take care. Thank you so much for watching. Rock on, and God bless. Have a great evening.